And this podcast is brought to you by the Repost Network. Repost Network. Monetize your SoundCloud content. Sign up today at repostnetwork.com. And by Jeff from Sleep Cheap. Sleep Cheap, the home of the $199 mattress. This is the power of pro wrestling. A podcast by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Coming up today, we're discussing if WWE should reinstate the Cruiserweight division, plus my top 5 moments, and Rapid Fire returns next on the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast. And welcome to the show. This is your host, Robert Red.
Hey, this is the Godfather.
Hey, Godfather, I want to welcome you to the show. How you doing today?
Godfather's doing pretty good for this Friday night. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing good. Well, we got a loaded lineup, so let's get to it. I'm going to give you some background history, and we're going to be talking about some cruiserweights. So, this is going to be interesting. Now, in 1991, WCW created a division for its smaller wrestlers and deemed it the light heavyweight division, with Brian Pillman being crowned as the inaugural champion. The division was relaunched in 1996 and was renamed the Cruiserweight Division, with Otani being the first champion. The division was the backbone of WCW for many years, with many classic matches occurring for the title between the likes of Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and Chris Jericho. When WCW folded in 2001, the division stayed active in the WWE until its demise in 2007, with the announcement of a new show for smaller wrestlers from around the world for the WWE Network. The division could see a resurgence very soon. So, Godfather, I kind of wanted to get your opinion on this. Do you think WWE should relaunch the Cruiserweight division in light of this recent announcement of a Cruiserweight division?
In 2 words, Robert, hell yes. They need to. They need this right now. They have got the right core people coming out of NXT right now that this Cruiserweight division will explode.
Okay, well, I mean, is that your kind of reasoning for the Cruiserweight division?
No, here's the reasoning. Because right now, fans are wanting faster matches. They want the high flying again. Their attention spans are a little bit shorter. They want stuff a little quicker and a little faster to them. And the Cruiserweight division is a good way to give the fans exactly what they want right now. They love these indie guys that are coming in. And if you're looking at them, most of these indie guys could be around that Cruiserweight division. A lot of these top guys they liked, Sami Zayn, all these guys coming out of NXT that they're real excited about. Tyler Breeze, these guys are around Cruiserweight top guys to me. I mean, they got a right core right now. I feel like, especially with the WWE Network expanding as much as it is to other countries, I think this is a good chance to really relaunch this division right now.
I actually disagree with you. WWE does not need to relaunch the Cruiserweight division. Now, I'm all for the fast, high-paced matches, but I don't think they need to have a division as such, because a lot of old talent like Chris Jericho, stuff like that, when they were in WCW and the Cruiserweight division was thriving and stuff, he mentioned the Cruiserweights were treated like they were leopards, and they had a glass ceiling put on to them, and they could never reach a certain point. You always had the people like Hogan, Nash, stuff like that, to where they could never break through. They would have good matches, but they couldn't dare to get over. So I feel if WWE did relaunch the Cruiserweight division, that would happen. You would have guys like Neville and stuff like that that would fit that prototypical smaller guy and stuff like that. Would be relegated to where they would only get so high on the card and they never could be that breakout star or like they potentially could be. Because I know wrestling historically has been a big man sport, but you do have guys based on their hard work and their work rate, because they haven't been the biggest guys, have gotten over. Stone Cold is a perfect example. Jericho went on to be the first undisputed champion. He says that ad nauseum. You have the classic Daniel Bryan story for WrestleMania 30. So I feel if you relaunch the Cruiserweight division, those guys would never get the opportunity like that. Even guys like Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, if you relaunch the Cruiserweight division, I feel that would hurt guys like that, and they would reach a glass ceiling.
I think right now, without the Cruiserweight division, a lot of these guys they're bringing up from NXT, they're fizzling out. Not even a year on the roster. Neville's the same way. Tyler Breeze the same way. Curtis Axel. I can keep going down the list. Adam Rose. I can go to top of my head, Bo Dallas right now. Yeah. These guys were thriving NXT prospects, hit the main roster, hit flat, because for one, a lot of things, their limitations, their size, a lot of different reasons. For everything that you said that you think is going to hold them down, I feel like this is giving some of these guys that have this hype coming into the main roster that gives them a clear direction when they first come in, and maybe at least gives them going in the right way to get over with the fans. Because if you can get over with the fans, they come off NXT, they're hot, to get in there, get going with the fans on like Neville. If there was a cruiserweight division when Neville first come up, Neville would skyrocket right now, because he would have never fizzled down, would have never fell off, because he had something he was always thriving and working toward. He doesn't fit in very well with the rest of the roster. A lot of these guys don't without the cruiserweight division.
Well, I mean, I do agree with you. You do have a valid point. A lot of the NXT guys, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, at least I have, that they have kind of not made a good transition. Any NXT guy has not really made a good transition to the main roster. So my concern and fear is if you create a cruiserweight division, they have enough titles as it is. In my opinion, you have the IC, US, World Tag Team. They are oversaturated with titles right now. So if you did a cruiserweight division with a cruiserweight title, that's just another
one of the
title.
best era in wrestling's had that many titles at the same time. Attitude Era had the six man titles: a European, a light heavyweight, intercontinental, heavyweight, tag team. There's always been a majority of titles. That's not it. They just need more guys to fill this division of titles that they have right now. There's no clear division of what's a U.S. division, an IC division, or a tag team division or anything. They just mix guys together. You don't see any real direction right now. They need direction to help with fix the titles. I think the Cruiserweight will put the WWE back on the map.
Okay, well, with that, we are going to go to a quick commercial break. We will be right back after this with our top 5 moments of the week. Do not go anywhere.
Tired of the same uncomfortable mattress? Want to sleep better without breaking the bank? I got good news for you. Go to Sleep Cheap. They have a huge inventory of mattresses at incredible prices. With guaranteed financing with no credit score required, that makes it easy for you to qualify for a brand new mattress. Use the promo code PPWP today and get 30% off. Go see Jeff Toddy at 2801 South Carraway Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's time to get your sleep back. It's time to sleep cheap. This is Cornbread Chris Heineken, and you're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast.
And welcome back to the show. Brace yourselves. It's now time for my top 5 moments of the week.
5 moments of the week.
With all the exciting action this week, we'll be counting down our favorite moments from 5 to 1, starting with
number 5.
Okay, Godfather, my number 5, since we're going to do my top 5 list, my number 5, I have from Lucha Underground, Prince Puma versus Pentagon Jr. Now, are you familiar with Pentagon Jr. and Prince Puma?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, the reason I like this match, and I put it as number 5, it is a good match. I love the story going into it. You had, like I mentioned on a few podcasts ago, Prince Puma came out and saved Ivelisse in the main event of Lucha Underground for their Season 2 premiere. And with that, it kind of made Mil Muertes kind of mad for saving Ivelisse. And then you had Pentagon Jr. that comes out and breaks Mil Muertes' arm. And he's kind of been doing that for the last season, and then he comes out and does that. So Katrina, who is with Mil Muertes, makes them fight on this episode of Lucha Underground. So I just kind of like that dynamic between them. They're two probably of my favorite characters that I enjoy on the show, just for the simple fact of Prince Puma, what he's doing, and him doubling as Ricochet in New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's mind-blowing. And also just the whole dynamic with Pentagon Jr., like what he did with last season, having a master and it being revealed to be Vampiro, and then what he's doing this season, and kind of making them work together in a past episode and now making them fight it was great. So, I mean, kind of what's your opinion on this, Godfather? I mean, did you like the dynamic between the two?
Oh, yeah, I like the chemistry. Prince Puma is one of my faves. Him and Drago, I'd have to say, are my 2 favorite in Lucha Underground. But I thought the build-up to it was great. They done a good job executing every last aspect of the match from beginning to end.
Number 4.
My number 4, I'm actually going to go to TNA Impact Wrestling. And with this one, I picked the Monsters Ball match. Now, the Monsters Ball match was between Abyss and Crazy Steve. We're a tag team. They're now known as the K with the Rosemary. And they fought the Wolves, or the American Wolves, if you know from Ring of Honor. And the reason why I put this as number 4, it was a very violent match. Cornbread, who does the podcast with me a lot, he described this as a new level of violence. And I love the Monsters Ball match just for the simple fact of I don't ever really remember seeing the American Wolves, or the Wolves in this case, ever get to that state of violence. Like, the use of tacks, the use of Janus, which is the barbed wire, like kind of 2x4 that Abyss has. Well, it's not a barbed wire, it's a nailed 2x4. It's a violent weapon, just the chairs, tables, just, it was an insane, crazy match, showing just the dynamic between them. And with that, having the Wolves retain the titles was just great. And I love how Crazy Steve and Abyss are making a great tag team, calling themselves the Decay, and then bringing in Rosemary was just a great dynamic, and the match was great. And having the Wolves retain the title was just kind of my favorite moment of the week. It didn't get me overly excited and hyped like I thought it would be. That's why I didn't make it higher on the list. I thought I was going to make it my number one moment watching it, but it didn't kind of get me hyped and pumped, and that's kind of what kind of makes or stirs my decision as to where you rank on the list. So, and there were a lot of great moments on during this week, so it was kind of hard for me to pick a top 5. But with this being as good as it was, it only made my number 4. So, I mean, you have an opinion on this, Godfather? I mean, do you like the Monsters Ball match? Do you like the concept of it? Or
I don't really have an opinion on this. I'm not really a fan of anything TNA is doing at the moment or has done in the past. So there's no opinion on this for me.
Okay, so I mean, you've kind of did you used to watch Impact at one point, and you've just
I've just fallen away from it. I've never been a real fan of the Monsters Ball match. It's just to me like just a gimmick name of a hardcore match. So it's all kind of the same to me.
Number 3.
Well, my number 3, I'm actually going to pick something from Monday Night Raw, and that's strange because usually I put WWE at number 1. Now, when I get to my number 1 spoiler, it's actually going to be from something I don't normally put at number 1. I was surprised. But my number 3, we're going to go to 5, if you know what I mean, an F5, the Fatal 5-Way. That was for Dean Ambrose's Intercontinental Championship. I just love the dynamic of this match, making Ambrose, because me and Cornbread have talked off the podcast about when is Dean Ambrose going to defend the IC title. He is the Intercontinental Champion. He does need to be defending the title. So with him coming out at the start of the show, coming out, Brock Lesnar, and Stephanie interrupting and said, you're getting an F5, but you're not getting Brock Lesnar. You're having a Fatal 5-Way, making him defend his match against his title against Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, Stardust, and Tyler Breeze. I think was just a great match. The fans were into it. You got the This Is Awesome chants, which you don't normally get on a Monday Night Raw. If you watch Raw for any length of time, that's not a normal chant every match. So, always great. And then having Kevin Owens, KO, winning the title was a very cool thing because it did get the belt off Dolph Ziggler, and I even tweeted out, which you can follow me on Twitter at Robert Red Jr. Yeah, I shameless plug myself there. Or I said, I'm starting to think that Dean Ambrose, which will make our picks here next segment, could possibly win at Fastlane with him dropping the Intercontinental title to Kevin Owens. So I love the match. I love the This Is Awesome chant, just the dynamic that surrounded it. That's why I put it at number 3. So what did you think of Kevin Owens winning the title, Dean Ambrose, This Is Awesome chant?
Here's the thing. I'm not mad at Kevin Owens winning the belt. I don't understand why Tyler Breeze was in the match, nor do I understand why Stardust was in the match. The other thing is that they should have never took the belt off of Kevin Owens just to give it to Dean. Now they're playing hot potato with the Intercontinental belt again every 3 or 4 months, okay? What I feel like is it was a good move to get it off of Dean Ambrose because they need to switch something up going into WrestleMania, especially going into an unsold-out Fastlane pay-per-view.
Yeah, so that's some good things. So that was kind of my reason I put it at number 3. It was a good match, and it had the This Is Awesome chant.
Number 2.
My number 2 I'm going to is actually going to be from Ring of Honor. And what made this number 2 was it got me hyped and pumped and excited for the show, that segment and stuff like that, and the 14th anniversary show that's coming up for Ring of Honor. So this is why I put it so high. Normally I would put matches or stuff like that, but just this moment in this segment from Ring of Honor kind of got me pumped and excited. And that's, like I said, what stirs my decision. And my number 2 comes from Ring of Honor, and it was the Steve Corino, BJ Whitmer, Adam Page segment. Now, what this was, BJ Whitmer has been running down Steve Corino for weeks now, and even used his own son, Kobe Corino, bring them into the decade and kind of manipulating him and making Steve Corino as a commentator kind of lose it, and he actually physically attacked BJ, so he had to be suspended. So on this episode, what was so great about this, you had the confrontation between the two. You had Corino on the stage and then BJ in the ring. Corino saying, I've talked to somebody and I'm going to have them meet you next week, which was this episode. And with that, it turned out to be Adam Page, which was part of the decade. So this just got me pumped and excited, and just the fisticuffs that ended up with it, it got me excited and pumped up for Ring of Honor and the 14th anniversary show that's happening next week. So I'm excited to see it. So, do you have any thoughts on this match?
All I can say is OMG, very well executed storyline from start to finish. The way they're moving there, Ring of Honor, of course we all know what Ring of Honor is. Ring of Honor is very good. We love Ring of Honor. I think they're starting to take off, and they may one day get into some competition.
Yeah, that's good. Well,
Number 1.
my number one pick, you're going to love this. Now, I teased this earlier. It says I normally don't put something from this show as number 1, but my number 1 actually comes from SmackDown.
What?
Yes, it's insane. I picked SmackDown of all things.
Wow.
The show, and it even didn't have Ronaldo on it. It had Cole on commentary, but my number 1, you probably can guess why I put number 1. Suplex City, you're right. The Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Triple H confrontation at the end of the show.
Yes.
So, I mean, you had Dudley Boys against Roman and Dean, and then having Brock Lesnar just kind of interrupting from there, and then having Brock Lesnar come out and start attacking Dean Ambrose. The very, very awesome thing. And then having the fisticuffs between Roman and Brock, and then him trying to spear Brock or something, and then Brock pushing him out of the way and hitting Ambrose, and then that leading to Ambrose going for Dirty D's, and then just everything that happened, and Brock Lesnar laying both of them out, and then Triple H coming out to the end. It was just an amazing moment from SmackDown, and it got me excited for Fastlane because I've not seen Triple H in a while, and they used the show properly. The build to Fastlane has actually got me excited.
Yes, they did. I have to tell you, well executed. I mean, I know I can't say that enough, but this was a good show. It was one of the best SmackDowns I have seen in a very long time.
Yeah. And I mean, just with that, Brock Lesnar, and it was historic because Brock Lesnar's not been on SmackDown in I think 12 years.
Yes, long time.
So, that's what made, I think, this special. But with that, we're going to go to another commercial break, but Rapid Fire returns next.
Tired of the same uncomfortable mattress? Want to sleep better without breaking the bank? I got good news for you. Go to Sleep Cheap. They have a huge inventory of mattresses at incredible prices. With guaranteed financing with no credit score required, that makes it easy for you to qualify for a brand new mattress. Use the promo code PPWP today and get 30% off. Go see Jeff Toddy at 2801 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's time to get your sleep back. It's time to sleep cheap.
This is Amber.
And this is Amanda. And you're listening to the Power Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome back to the show. It's now time for the fastest segment of the show, Rapid Fire.
Pew, pew, pew.
For this edition of Rapid Fire, we are giving our prediction for the upcoming Fastlane pay-per-view. So let's start with Chris Jericho versus AJ Styles. Who's your pick and why?
AJ Styles because he's new. Chris Jericho's established. You're going to help Chris Jericho to put AJ Styles over going into AJ Styles WrestleMania match.
Okay, I definitely agree with that. I'm going AJ Styles for the exact same reason. Jericho won the last match. Styles won the first, so this being the rubber match, AJ Styles is kind of more important right now than Jericho, so I'm picking Styles to win this one. Okay, let's go. The match of the Titans. Big Show, Kane, Ryback against the Wyatt family. Who are you picking and why?
Hands down, Wyatt family. They got all the momentum right now. They're going to use that to help carry them into whatever program they're going to use with them at WrestleMania. Right now, the Wyatt family is just on fire.
Yeah, they are. I can agree that the Wyatt family are going to win this one just for the simple fact, and I think we're going to see the Wyatt families later on the show teasing there a little bit. So I think the Wyatt family, just to get momentum, the Wyatt family will beat Big Show, Kane, and Ryback. I don't see them going over at this point. Okay, let's go to another tag match. Team Bay, as they used to be called, Sasha and Becky Lynch against Team Bad, Naomi and Tamina.
Nick, this is easy. This is Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. It's going to help propel Sasha Banks and either one of them. Possibly, I'm looking at maybe a fatal four-way at WrestleMania.
I can definitely see that. That would be my pick as well, just for the simple fact of Sasha and Becky. I think you're going to see friction in this match. I think they're still going to be able to pull it off. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if Naomi and Tamina did it just because of the friction, leading them into a Mania match maybe with the Divas title on the line. So I could see that going that way. But I do see there's going to be friction. But I think I'm going to pick Becky and Sasha on this just for the simple fact of the dynamic there going in. Let's go to our next match, which will be the Divas title match: Charlotte versus Brie Bella. Who you picking?
Charlotte. They're not going to have her losing the title this early. I mean, she is playing the perfect heel character right now with her dad, Ric Flair. I don't see them stopping that just to get Brie Bella a little win right before she retires in a couple months anyways.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd love to see Brie Bella take the title, I know it's not realistic here, so I'm going to pick Charlotte. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Brie somehow works her way into a WrestleMania program in like that Fatal 4-Way you mentioned, having a Charlotte, it's Sasha, Becky, and then
Brie Bella
in there. And they might do that, but I think they may want to go with the NXT girls at WrestleMania. So I'm still saying Charlotte regardless. I'd love to see Brie take it just for the memory of Daniel Bryan, but I know that probably will not happen. That's fantasy booking at this point. And the pre-show match, but I put it here because it's for the U.S. titles. 2 out of 3 falls. It's Kalisto, who's a champ against Del Rio. Who's your pick?
Alberto Del Rio.
That's interesting. Why Del Rio?
I know Kalisto's got the hype and everything, but I'm thinking about in the long-term picture, if Alberto picks it up at Fastlane, that gives Kalisto his WrestleMania moment, picking it back up at WrestleMania, and then he becomes a 3-time champ.
Okay, I won't necessarily disagree with that, but with Kalisto just winning it, I mean, they have hot potatoed it before when Kalisto won it and then just had Del Rio and then back to Kalisto.
That's my one bold prediction for the pay-per-view.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go the opposite route, and I'm going to pick Kalisto to retain just for the simple fact he's not had the title.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if Del Rio won, but I'm going to stick with Kalisto. Now let's go to the IC title. Kevin Owens against Dolph Ziggler.
Kevin Owens. He just won the belt. There's no way losing. If it does, then Kevin Owens loses credibility, and the IC belt loses all credibility.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's pretty obvious he just won the belt on Monday. I don't think they're going to take it off of him this soon. Kevin Owens, he's probably going to have a decent program going into Mania as the IC champion, so I don't see him losing the belt right here. So, and our main event, it's a triple threat match for the to be the number one contender for the WWE World Heavyweight title. They go into Mania. We've got Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose. Who you got?
Man, this one's I'm tough on because Roman Reigns seems to be a lock for some time now. But I know they feel like they have to switch something up. I've still got to go with the predictable. I've got to pick Roman Reigns, even though I feel like we're going to see a triple threat match at WrestleMania. I've got to go with either Roman Reigns wins or something happens and him and Dean Ambrose pin each other at the same time. That's something I can see happening. Brock Lesnar's taken out by the Wyatt family. They're both pinned or they're both double counted down or something like that. And Brock Lesnar's removed from the match all the way together and it equals in something like that or Roman Reigns wins.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the Wyatt family. And what's sad, this is probably the first match since Brock's return that he's been in that he has no chance of winning. And that's a very interesting fact.
That's true.
But with the Wyatt family, like they're teasing this whole taking out the Titans and this old guard. Brock Lesnar, he's been around a while, although he is just recently returned to the company, so he's kind of new and fresh. He is still kind of that old guard, and he's that big guy, that Titan, so the Wyatts have kind of been teasing that. So, I mean, I do think with the business with the Wyatt family that happened at the Rumble, they've not really done anything with Brock, and I think they've been saving it for this point, so we're going to see the feud pick back up. So, Brock Lesnar out of the picture. Dean and Roman, I would love to see Dean, and like I said, I'm starting to believe more and more it could be Dean, but just for the simple fact you still have that business. Roman Reigns has been their guy in their project.
Yes.
I think I'm going to pick Roman Reigns, although I can see Dean Ambrose somehow weaseling his way into a triple threat.
This one's hard.
Well, that's good. They've kind of taken away the predictable to where we thought it was as clear-cut Roman Reigns. Now it's not so much.
Because now he lost the Intercontinental belt. That frees him up to not even being in that match at WrestleMania. That's why I'm going on a limb. You're seeing a triple threat match, WrestleMania 32. I called it 9 months ago, except for Seth Rollins is hurt now. Triple H is taking his spot.
Yeah, and I mean, that is kind of sad that we don't give the Shield triple threat because that would have been a great way to sell Mania.
I'm telling you that was WrestleMania 32 headline. There's no way it wasn't.
Yeah, it probably was. But I want to thank you, Godfather, for being on the show. That's all the time we have. We want to thank our sponsor, Jeff from Sleep Cheap. You can check them out for all your mattress needs. We also want to thank the Repost Network. They will help you monetize your SoundCloud content. You can check out all of our social media outlets. We're on Facebook. Like I said, I mentioned on Twitter at Robert Red Jr. I'm on Instagram, Robert Red Jr. for all the latest news regarding the podcast. Social media accounts, I know you said you've kind of strayed away from Godfather
has completely gone away from Facebook and from Messenger. It's just going forward. Godfather is internet podcast only.
Okay. Well, is there anything you want to say to our audience right quick before we can go
Yes,
on
I do. I want you to think about this one thing before the Godfather returns. If you had to pick one opponent to come back at WrestleMania and face The Undertaker, do you pick Sting or Bill Goldberg?
Okay. That's an interesting way to end the podcast. But you can also support us on Patreon. We're on patreon.com/PPWP. You can check out our podcast on iTunes. You can search us for the Power Pro Wrestling Podcast or SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/PPWP. Once again, thank you for joining me, Godfather. And
oh, yeah.
And thank you, the audience, for supporting the show. You can catch us right here next time on the Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast.